Hey makers, I have a confession to make. I have a problem. My cat likes to look outside the back door window, and in doing so, he sits on top of my coffee maker and ends up turning it on with his butt. So I'm going to stain glass my back window so that the light still comes in, but he can't see out of it, and therefore, hopefully, he won't climb on top of the coffee maker. We'll see how it goes.
I traced the flower on this vase using graph paper and then enlarged it to fit the window. Here's the design colored in. I used basically the same color scheme as the vase. Right next to the vase is a teapot with this little like fan motif I used to fill the bottom corner. I did have to cut it out and reposition it. I'm using leftover paint that my mom gave me because I hate wasting. You could pick it up at a craft store or you could just use glue with food coloring in it. So here's the secret to even lines in your stained glass. I see people all the time trying to draw the outline straight from the bottle and end up with a goopy mess. Instead, we're going to pre-make our leading, allow it to dry, and then apply to our design. So get out some line paper, or in this case, I'm using graph paper. And then I'm using glass from a picture frame. Be careful with the glass. I'll explain more tips later on in the video. Just make the lines as even as you can. I made some thick and some thin. It was difficult to film the process on a window just because it was so overexposed. So I decided that at the end of the video, I'm going to do a smaller project just so I could show you in more detail how I did everything. But here I've taped my design to the outside of the door, like on the outside of the window, and I'm just applying my leading over all my lines. The lines look off because it's a two-pane window and the camera is at an angle, but from my perspective, it was dead on, so I just have to go along with the same perspective. I ran out of leading, so while the next batch dried, I painted the blue border to match the door. Again, I did paint all the way around the border, but you just can't see it because of the overexposed light, but you'll see it again later. I used those thicker lines to do sort of the sprigs with the berries and then the inside lines of the fan pattern, and then use my regular lines to sort of outline everything else. And when all the leading is off and the backing paper is removed, we see some like tiny gaps in the line. I'll use tiny dabs to seal that all in. And again, I'll show you more of that in the second project. Used regular white glue to give a frosted look to the background, and it came out so nice. I love it so much. The colors really need to be built up with this kind of translucent paint, so I'm just applying multiple layers, allowing each layer to dry in between, just building up the colors. I didn't have to do that with the frosted areas. They looked good just with one coat, but all the other colors I had to build up multiple layers just to get it to look opaque. Anyways, you can see how I'm smushing the paint with my brush instead of like stroking back and forth. I'm kind of making a texture with it, and then when it dries, it's going to look more like real stained glass texture. Mixing the textures between the smooth frosting or like textured color pieces, even doing some marbling and swirling, that really gives your stained glass projects like a more professional finished feel, as opposed to those like crappy kits where they just give you like three little pots of color, and you know what I mean. Nothing against crafts, but we're going for a different kind of look here. I want a grand entrance. Here's how it looks while it's drying. You can see it looks like milky and pastel when it's wet, but then it dries down translucent in a much darker shade. At night, it looked pretty good, but in the morning, I could see that it needed a bit more in like the dark colors, like the dark purple and the dark green, just need a little bit more. The final result is better than I ever expected. I love seeing it every morning when I go to make my coffee. And yes, my cat has stopped sitting on the coffee maker. Okay, bonus project time. I had this picture frame that I thought would work great to show the techniques up close. And I just made up a simple design to demonstrate. It's nothing fancy, just some lines. And then I do this nice flourish with my hand. Et voila! I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, pro tip number 2. I'm going to show you what to do if your letting is lumpy, if the bottle burps and you get splats. It just takes time to learn how to get nice lines, and even if you've been doing it a while, you can't avoid the bottle burps. So just take a small cutting tool, get supervision if you're a tiny person, get someone to help you. Just cut away all the imperfections, straighten up the lines, evening the consistency, anything that you wouldn't want in your final work. I learned this trick from my grandma. She was a commissioned artist, sort of as a retirement job, but she just taught me tons of little tricks and tips to really get that finished product looking professional. So, once you're done, you're ready to peel up the dry letting. The bottom of the letting dries flat and remains tacky like those window decals. So you just peel that up and then apply it to your design over top of the lines. I like to overlap the edge a little bit so I can cut it right off and make sure that it really butts up against the frame. You can bend the letting to make smooth corners, or if you want to make like sharp steps, then you can cut it. This is a really calming process. I really enjoy doing it. It's simple and easy. If you don't feel like drawing up a design, you could just find a simple pattern online to use, and any picture frame will work. You don't need a special type of glass. You just keep applying over all your lines, press it down with your finger, and it just stays stuck there. Once we get all the paint stuck on, that'll also give it another kind of layer of protection to help it stay stuck. But really, you just peel and stick. It's that easy. Just peel and stick. If you have a shape where you want it curved all the way around, just start in one spot and then bend it around all the corners and meet it again in the middle. Again, we're just done dabbing the letting to seal up the connections. The white glue I apply with long, even strokes, and it'll self-level and dry into a uniform frosted look. You may have to add a bit of water to your white glue if it's especially gloopy. I did end up adding a little bit of water to mine just so that it would lay down so nice and smooth. And then with the orange, I'm just using the same texture method, just building it up in really gloopy layers. I did end up doing a couple of layers off camera and just building up that color. I'm just keeping it really simple, frosting some of the large areas and then just adding color to some of the little orange squares. You could do any kind of design, doesn't matter how complex, these methods will work. I'm just doing this really simple pattern to show off how it's done. And once it's dry, you can see the orange keeps its rough look. but the glue that I applied smoothly, it just gets sort of a matte finish. Now it's hard to see because it's all white, but it's not reflecting as much as the middle glass, which I didn't apply the glue to. Well, that can't be all, so I drew up this cat. I wanted to cover the frame stand, so I used acrylic paint on the back and leading on the front. I love how he's like looking up through the glass. But I need your help deciding how I should finish it. I have two choices. First choice, I have this paper with patchwork squares, or I have this white paper with an orange flower. Needs to be ironed. I think it was gift wrap, so it has a fold in it. Which one do you like more? I kind of like them both. I like the tidy color scheme of sticking with the white and orange, but I also love the layered squares and all the fun patterns. Hopefully this helped you with your stained glass art. And as always, thanks for watching.